I would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Here are your hosts, Elliot Rowe and Adrienne Talenchik Rousum.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast and welcome to 2018, another year of poker for all of us. Today we have Apestyles coming on, John Van Fleet, after his big win in the Party Poker 5K. So let's give him a call.
I am excited for today's guest. It is John Apestyles Van Fleet. We had him last time on the podcast in March of last year. So it's been almost a year. And to say it's been an eventful or profitable year might be a little bit of an understatement. So welcome back, John. How you been?
Thank you. Well, I've been doing really well. 2017 was definitely my year. I guess the reason why I was invited to this show again was because I just had my biggest online score ever for $1 million.
That is true. That's why we brought you back. You know, we say, like, go and hit a big score. We'll phone you back up, John, and you did it. You did the homework. And how did that feel? That was the Party Poker 5K. How did it feel finally getting that six-figure score?
Well, I've got seven-figure score, you mean.
Seven-figure
Sorry,
score.
Yeah. I've got a couple stories on that. The first story is, remember last time I was here, I was like, poor me. Whenever it's the big score, I don't hit it. I didn't say it quite like that, but I mentioned that I don't have those huge scores, although I've ran very well online. And then, boom, I have one of the biggest scores of the year this year. An absurd amount of money for online poker. And secondly, you asked how it felt. Oh man, that's a tough question. I'm going to go back and actually give you a story about how I almost didn't play this tournament. I saw it on a Sunday, and I was like, oh, it's like a multi-day 5K. I coach during the week. I don't really feel like it's probably got like 150 people. I'm not into it. And I didn't even look at it. And on Monday, this guy, Martin, was like, hey, are you going to play this 5K? Like, I think it's going to be an overlay and it's LOL $1 million for first. And I was like, what? I just canceled everything. I was like, all right. I canceled my whole day. I was like, whoa, 5K with an overlay, $1 million for first? I'm playing. I'm very glad I did.
Did you send Martin a bottle of Dom?
Actually, Martin and I were at the same table, and I beat him in a few pots, and we traded. We traded percent, so he got 5%. So that's better than a bottle of Dom.
That's better than a bottle of, yeah, definitely.
So it was a Monday. When did you make your way to the final table then? What day was that on?
That was on a Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it really is like a live grind a little bit, that tournament.
I loved it because sometimes I find that at the end of the day, that's when I start to get decision fatigue and I start to feel a little slower. And each day it was nice to come back feeling sharp and ready to play.
And what sort of overlay did they have on that one?
There was no overlay.
Oh, so it was missold.
By Martin, but I'm okay with it because it just means they put more money in the pool for me to win. So, but no, there was not an overlay. It barely made the guarantee. I don't know how they're going to make that 20 million guaranteed next year, though.
What goes through your head when you're kind of getting down to the final three tables in a tournament like that, and you realize that $1 million mark is still sitting there staring at you in your face for first place?
Well, I ordered like a really healthy burrito, and I was talking to a friend of mine on Skype, and I was like, man, this burrito is so good. And I said, how many burritos do you think I could get with $1 million? No, I try not to think too much about the sheer amount of the money. Of course, it's scary, but it's easy to start getting in your head. But every moment that you're in your head, thinking about the money, what you're going to do with the money, you're not focusing on the game. I try my best to take that part out. Another thing that really helped me that day was that morning I woke up and I had a lot of gratitude. And I remember thinking, no matter what happens today, I'm good. I have plenty. I'm happy whether or not I win or lose, but I also knew I was going to win.
And do you think having the gratitude, the thought that it's okay if I don't win, helped you to win. So it sort of took off that edge of pressure because, like you say, you're feeling grateful anyway.
Yeah, I just was feeling grateful to be in this place, to be able to play a game for a living. I try to just push the money aside so that I can just execute my game plan.
And what about through the rest of the year? How did the rest of 2017 treat you?
It was pretty big. I was up 300K at one point because I won like Party Million, the 888 2K, a Party 2600. And then I was really feeling myself. So I bought into a couple 25Ks and without selling very much action at all, and went on like 100K downswing in a week, which is my biggest downswing in a week that I've ever had. Took a little break for a little bit because it stung more than I thought it would. Just got back to the grind of studying, working on my mental game. Yeah, overall, it's just been a really good year. I really, life is good, but it's not just because of poker going well. My life is good because I have good friends, I have a good routine, and I love where I live.
Do you think there was anything different that you started doing in 2017 that caused your game to kind of click? Because you had mentioned before, or complained or whined before that you'd had all these consistent results, but just not that big powerhouse score. What clicked last year?
The only thing that's really changed so much is that I did just start working as the head coach for Max Value. My game has progressed by making my own curriculum. I mean, I've also done mind coaching stuff, yoga, but this has always been part of what I do. And it's just kind of the summation of a system, having a system in place.
And when you say that system, is that just your entire life, or do you see it as a poker system? So to go into a little bit of depth for the listeners on that.
Because of coaching and working with Max Value, I've had to put together my own curriculum, a lot of videos, and I've had to answer all these super specific questions. So the act of making a curriculum has made me a lot more solid in a lot of different spots. As far as mental game goes, I started a yoga routine with the Rose method. Worked with you, Elliot. Lots of meditation with my Buddhist group, Triratna. I make sure to try to have balance and health in my life, as well as working out. That's what I've been moving towards this entire time.
I'm familiar with yoga, but what's the Rose method?
De Rose, it's the name of their teacher.
De Rose.
Actually,
okay.
A lot of the Brazilian poker guys work with them. And
a ton of my clients, the De Rose method. Everyone seems to love it.
Enlighten me. I need this in my life, I think.
Well, I found with yoga, I often signed up for a month or two, and then I would rarely show up for a couple of reasons. One, I'm uncoordinated and sweaty and falling over the place, and I feel like a creep there. With that's part of why I wouldn't show up. But the other thing is, it was really hard for me. So I decided that it was undoubtedly has to be good for me if it's this difficult. So getting a teacher that worked with me online really helped. And I was talking with a Brazilian poker friend, and he was like, yeah, I think this guy will do it for you. And he understands poker. He can schedule around you. So I just started doing twice a week, 3 times a week with him. Really nice having accountability around yoga. It's kind of like having a yoga personal trainer.
And I've seen lots of poker players really see big benefits from adding yoga to their routine. It's definitely, if you're out there listening to this, definitely worth checking it out. And sort of back onto the mindset side in that big MTT, did any of the stresses of the past come up when you're getting closer, thinking I'm getting near again? Or with all of this work that you're doing, was there just no pressure? It's all good.
For some reason, this time, I felt a sense of ease and that I was just there executing my game plan. Occasionally, I could feel this little thread of anxiety creeping in, but then I would just smile at it and be like, no, this is what you do. This is what you're prepared for. I felt that the whole time. And I don't know, because a lot of these spiritual, mindset-based, all this work I've been doing since, how long have you and I been working together, Elliot?
It's got to be 3 years, isn't it? 2.5, 3 years?
So I've always been quite open to this stuff. But I suppose it felt sort of like the summation of a lot of work. And just, It was nice to see it all come together.
What a day for it to come together. Yeah, what a day for it. So if it's going to come together in one day, that's definitely the day you want it to hit. And in terms of so with those, a 5K tournament, I'm assuming the field is it's going to be one of the tougher fields of the year as well. Is that something that you enjoy when you see that online and you know that a lot of the best players in the world are going to be in the tournament? Is that something that excites you still because obviously you've been around the game for so long, or would you rather see a soft tournament and sort of go smash the weak players?
That's a tough question. I think that the objective answer there should almost always be, I want to play against the competition that's going to make me the most money. But what do I really enjoy? I enjoy a mind game. I enjoy picking up on somebody's fold to delayed c-bet stat or something really, really slight. I enjoy thinking one level above a player who already thinks on a similar level. So I enjoy that competition aspect, but I think I would prefer, as a professional, whatever is going to be the most value. But this tournament had both. And sometimes when you're at a table full of complete beginners, it's actually not very fun for me because the best thing to do in that case is just kind of wait for good cards and pound the pot. That to me is kind of boring. I think that I gave an answer to that question, but I'm not 100% certain. The answer is I have more enjoyment playing the puzzle rather than just sort of sitting there with my fishing rod waiting for a sucker, But at the same time, as a professional, I want to make decisions that always make me the most money.
So when you're playing against other professionals that you respect their games and all the rest, how do you find these edges?
Well, firstly, because I work so much, and we were talking earlier about how I know that a lot of these guys don't study much, and essentially a poker session starts by, and I have nothing against smoking pot, but just the poker session starts by hitting the bong or smoking a blunt, and then you just kind of play your ABC game. I know that a lot of professionals who are good at poker or even were good at poker have little things that they miss that they haven't studied, because while they're either grinding or doing whatever they do every day, working towards understanding every spot a little bit better. I feel like I'm being a little bit arrogant when I say that, but it's actually been coaching that's forced me to work so hard. It's because people rely on me to have up-to-date information, and I'm always being asked questions, always being given new projects to work on. Also think that I'm not going to call it blessed. I also think that I'm a little bit arrogant, and I try not to be in life. Playing poker, because I'm always looking for leaks, I don't really think anyone's very good, and I'm probably underrating people's abilities. That helps me at the same time, because at any table that I sit at, I'm confident.
So there's always something to find.
There is almost always something to find. We're all humans. There's something to find in my game. Some people you have to work a little harder than others. And I remember back in the day when I thought certain people were terrible, and then I found out what they were doing was what I should have been doing. So sometimes I mistakenly rate people as worse than they are because they're doing something that I was unaware was good. So it's not entirely just that everybody has their leaks and I come after them. Often it has been in the past oversight on my part. Or I remember I was talking to Ryan Dowd, and this is back when I had a bad day. I would rant about how bad blah, blah, blah was. I don't do that anymore because I think it's just kind of it's really obvious what I'm doing. I'm trying to make myself feel better by putting someone else down. And he was like, that probably is a leak what that guy does. But I think the more interesting question is, what is that guy doing that makes him win in spite of his leaks? And I was like, okay, you're right. And I think after that moment, I decided to stop being on that trash talking other players, because it's just not that productive. Right? It's not a good place to be in.
I really agree. People often ask me to who's the best in the game, who's the worst in the game, and things like that. And I just, every poker player has their own unique decision-making processes. And while they might be loosely or broadly based on the same philosophies and same math, There's lots of ways to get there.
Certainly in terms of your own emotional well-being as well. It's pretty terrible if you are finishing your sessions, criticizing all of the other players. It really does take away the reason for you to improve your game and get better, because you're telling yourself they're just getting lucky, they're terrible, rather than really looking inside and seeing what can be shifted. And what I find really impressive, John, is that I've spoken, you've been in the game, I mean, let's embarrass you now. How many years have you been in the game for?
I think since late 2004, early 2005.
So a decent amount of time. And I've spoken to quite a few guys who were playing like pre-Black Friday and successful pre-Black Friday as you were. Very few of them have kept up with the study. And I think that's what really stands out, that you stood the test of time and you're still willing to put in the hours to continue trying to solve the game. One of the issues I've had with players, pre-Black Friday players, sometimes they'll tell me, hey, Elliot, there's nothing in poker I need to learn, which is just such a huge red flag when I hear that from a player. And do you hear that from people, with the coaching as well, that they'll say, John, to be honest, there's nothing you can teach me. I've been in this game for 10 years. I've been there, I've done it.
I've heard people mention how they played perfect poker in a tournament. I'll tell you what, if you've ever said that you played perfect poker in a tournament, you're very, very far away from knowing what perfect poker looks like. That's it.
Could you begin to describe what perfect poker looks like?
Yeah, I think I could. There is solving poker, right? Using the solvers. Perfect poker would look like understanding the exact GTO for every single spot, which often involves knowing mixed strategies, and then adjusting perfectly to all the information you have from your opponent. And it requires you to have seen a lot of hands shown down, etc. So it's impossible to play perfect poker unless you're some kind of robot, I think.
It's just not happening. And especially if you then take that to live as well, when there's more emotions coming into it and there's physical tells, adjusting the statistics that you need to be using. As John said, if you believe that you're a perfect poker player, probably pretty weak.
Because the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, which sometimes can be kind of daunting, because I'll be like, how do I not know this spot after 14 years? But usually I like to approach it with an attitude of like, cool, there's more to learn, there's more to study.
Very cool. And you mentioned Max Value. What are you guys doing over there?
Well, yeah, Rob and I have been working together on creating a program really intensive. For me, he had already created a little bit of his own curriculum, and I'm doing my own stuff for Elevate, where I'm slowly but surely each month putting out videos on different topics like C betting, 3-betting, etc. I'm also going through my 5K win there. I think what separates us, other sites, is that we really try to provide accountability. And the community, while small right now, is really, really close-knit, and we really encourage hard work. If you work hard, if you're submitting your PO solvers or whatever to us, we're going to look at them and get back to you. And the other thing that we're giving out, I believe, when you sign up is, don't quote me on this, we're giving out free programs, though, I believe, or at least like significantly discounted programs.
So the software itself?
Yeah, we're actually... I will quote us on this. I think that we're giving out free licenses to PO Solver, Card Runners EV, all kinds of stuff just for signing up.
So where can people apply to Elevate?
max-value.com/mindset.
I mean, I frequently have people coming to me and they're like, well, I want to get better. I'm going to put in the work. And they just are always asking for recommendations or first steps or things that they should do. So if you find somebody who is willing to put in the work, but they're struggling, what sort of things do you recommend for them to start developing good systems?
It depends. It depends on where they're at in their game. First things first is almost always pre-flop stuff. Push, fold, reshoving, defending, raise first in ranges from each position. Because honestly, at the lowest stakes, if you just play solid but aggressive pre-flop ranges, you should win unless you're just horrendous post-flop. Usually I make sure that they have the tools that I didn't have when I started to just sort of implement a pre-flop system. Then you can get into where to diverge from what spot and get into the HUD aspect and how to use the HUD, the thought process behind the HUD. Then we get into game theory post-flop, how to maximally exploit our opponents. It all depends on where they're at. what I try to do is just meet whoever I'm teaching right where they're at.
Just give them the next step. Man, and do you still enjoy the teaching side as well? So, there's been a number of years of it. Is it nice to see, you get that moment, I certainly get it with the mindset side, where I've realized that something has clicked with someone and that they're going to play differently. Do you still get the sort of the smile on your face when someone's like, I get it now?
Oh, man, I honestly live for that. And sometimes I used to go on, I think we even did a session on this one time. I would just keep going with somebody until I felt like something really shifted or clicked with them, because that was so important for me. I wanted them to be able to walk away from the session having some kind of new plan to execute and have some idea of the direction they're going in. And sometimes it would take like 2 hours to do, 2.5 hours to sometimes like it just wasn't clicking, and students have had to cut me off because I was just like, because I really want them to get it,
No, I was going to say, I feel pretty certain that any current Elevate member who has seen one of your webinars is nodding in agreement.
So yeah, I do that. I'm a little bit wordy, and the other thing is until I'm positive that every question has been covered, I just don't feel right until I leave.
I mean, that's a great work ethic to have in a coach.
It's, as you say, it's just so nice when you have that moment when you realize, it's connected. It's going to work. And what does the future hold for Mr. Apestyles this year? What's the plan for 2018?
To be honest with you, the main thing, like having this big score didn't really change too much as far as like what I'm going to do next, even though it gave me some security. I've really just decided to probably work a little bit less, to be honest with you, right? Just because I feel like the health aspect. Yeah, I could just lose a little bit of weight. So I want to just spend a little bit of time working on health and relationships for a bit. I'm going to still be putting, a ton of time into max value. I've taken a break from one-on-one coaching for a little bit just because I'm getting a lot of demand right now, and I just want to take a breather.
That makes sense. In terms of max value, like how often do they get to, how many seminars do you do for max value?
We do 2 webinars that are supposed to be an hour and a half, but as Adrienne mentioned, I sometimes go up to 3 or longer.
Oh, hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you get a lot of Apestyles.
Yeah, people are like sometimes, it takes some grinders to take to spend the whole 3 hours. But the thing is, I'm interacting with everybody and trying to go through people's databases and find their leaks, etc. And the other thing they get is 3 20-minute videos from me, but they're generally topic videos, not always. Sometimes they're live play videos. And I pop in and out of the forums quite a bit. Rob especially is very, very one-on-one with people as far as checking their databases, doing accountability threads, etc. And we have a lot of resources as well. Stuff that I put together, or we both put together around raise first in ranges, 3-bet ranges, all kinds of charts, all the charts you'll ever need. And we're still working on more. Although that was contradictory. But yeah, we're definitely all about just with each day trying to become more and more systematized with how to teach someone to get from where they're at to where we're at.
What sort of levels of players are you seeing coming through your doors?
All different kinds of levels, to be honest. We've got everyone from full-time, high-stakes pros to players who have mainly just played some live cash. It's interesting trying to work with them all, but Rob does a really good job of getting people started and again, meeting people where they're at. I would say that the majority of the people we've seen so far are intermediate level at least, but there's definitely some beginners and some very advanced players as well. And I think that everyone can gain something. Although I must admit that sometimes in my webinars and videos, I can get a little bit advanced. The beginners can get pretty overwhelmed by me sometimes.
Because you've got 14 years of knowledge.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to remember. Like, this person's still trying to figure out why you don't raise king 10 offsuit from under the gun. So when I'm talking about bluff to value frequencies and indifference on the river, so we've definitely worked at trying to find a way to bridge that gap.
I think that's definitely where your persistence of making sure that somebody understands a skill or a concept makes the world a difference.
It can be tough sometimes, but thank you.
Max Value is max-value.com/mindset. What we'll do is we'll put a link up for that on the webpage. And where else can people find you, John?
You can find me on Twitter, Apestyles, Pocket Fives, Apestyles again, 2+2, Apestyles. You can even hit me up on Skype.
Awesome stuff, man. I mean, thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations again on the win. I was shouting at my computer as I saw the tweets coming up saying Apestyles has won it. It was sick. I was like, I was really, really happy because obviously, you know, it's been a long time coming. For the big sort of, you know, the big ones. So it's
been awesome, huge, and you played a big part in it, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate it, mate. So, everyone check out the link, check out Max Value, and we're going to watch John win some more stuff in 2018.
It was lots of fun having John on again. You know, it's nice to see people who seemingly are so deserving of success. They put in the time, they put in the work, they give back to the community. Those are the people that I love seeing celebrated and successful.
Yeah, it's one of those where, you know, he's been playing for 14 years and waiting for the big score. It's definitely well earned, you know. And I've had so many clients over the year just talk about how good of a coach John is and how knowledgeable and how hard he works. So just awesome to see him get that, and kind of him to share a load of information there as well about, you know, what players should be looking at and the sort of the mindset you need for that success.
I'm a member of Max Value, and he really does take care of everybody. You know, if you're not getting a concept, if you keep asking questions, he will keep answering.
Awesome service he's offering. If you guys want to check it out, again, we'll put the link down below. So click the link, max-value.com/mindset. It'll take you through to what they're offering from that side. So, Adrienne, where can people find you?
I am continuing on a wonderful January after a good December on twitch.tv/talentchick. My schedule is changing up a little bit over the next year, and looking to ramp up some more games. Still playing lots of mixed games, throwing in some Hold'em as well, now that I'm finally getting a little bit more prepared.
We'll go watch Adrienne steal some souls on her on her Twitch channel. For me, check out PokerMindCoach.com and Prime Mind, my app. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, download the app to your phone, and there's loads of free content so you can check out the stuff I do. So we shall see you all soon.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit PokerMindCoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.